One of my great joys in preparing for this workshop was the chance to revisit my old philosophy professor, Jim Moore's work. And Moore, his essay is referenced in the primer for ethics, but his important essay alludes to the ways that computers generally, and artificial intelligence in particular, generates a conceptual vacuum. These are big and little gaps in our shared commitments and our shared values. And as a law professor, I'm also reminded of Larry Lessig's claim in Code that the advent of the internet and of cyberspace revealed latent ambiguities in the law. That is to say, these hard questions that simply hadn't come up outside of a novel by Neil Stephenson or William Gibson. But whatever your intellectual frame, it seems clear to me that a transformative technology like artificial intelligence will, of course, invite new practices and norms, and we as a community have to be prepared to address them. Some of those I wanted to give as examples today, but many of them have already come up even so far in this workshop. The way that we make decisions is changing. For me, the central question is, how do we gain the benefits of greater precision and less bias, if that's even possible, while preserving a role for human judgment and mercy? That's a very difficult tension in my view. Are there limits that we have to place on the kinds of decisions that we commit to artificial intelligence? Should artificial intelligence have to, quote unquote, explain itself, as apparently is contemplated in Europe? The nature of research is changing, as people like Michael Zimmer here and our host Kate Crawford point out so well. Artificial intelligence can increasingly derive the intimate from the available. I'm not even sure, in a way, how I feel about some of the questions that we ask of data. For example, by the way, I do apologize. In my experience, there's always a boogeyman for every conference, and today it seems to be Uber, so my example will also be Uber, with apologies. But I wonder what process Uber came to know that people are more willing to pay surge pricing when our phone battery is about to die, right? One of the really interesting areas is that the advances in social or affective artificial intelligence, I think that those advances in particular invite wondrous and uneasy artifacts. Like, I can't wait, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait until I get my Jibo this October. I hope it comes in October. And I have to say that I very much trust Cynthia's team, and I really absolutely implicitly trust her team. But I want you to consider the following excerpt from a Department of Defense research challenge. I'm quoting. The challenge is to design an application that would allow a child to receive comfort from being able to have a simple virtual conversation with a parent who is not available in person. This child should be able to have a simulated conversation with a parent about generic everyday topics. For instance, a child might get a response from saying, "I love you," or "I miss you," or "Good night, mommy," or "daddy." So how do we machine ethics, as it were, right? How do we begin to fill these conceptual gaps? We do things like we amass expertise, we talk across disciplines, we engage with hard questions at every stage of the process, design, use, and impact. And it's not going to be easy. But I do want to offer that I think we are better positioned today than our predecessors. The second industrial revolution took place against the background of far less sophisticated policy infrastructure. They had their great muckrakers, of course, but I think our Julia Angwins and our John Markoffs understand the technology better. Julia apparently is perfectly willing to break federal law, which is an enormous advantage. But very importantly, the shepherds of the Second Industrial Revolution did not have the benefit of Batya Friedman or Helen Nissenbaum, whose work on values in design provides detailed methods by which to engage stakeholders in design processes. These methods are invaluable and are available to us today in a way that they weren't then. So in other words, the Second Industrial Revolution did not have all of you. And so I'm confident about our ability to manage this fraught time. With that, I just want to thank Kate and Meredith again for convening the workshop and the White House for co-hosting the event tonight. And I look forward to working with each of you.
Thanks so much, Ryan.